Good evening. Good evening. We're talking about negotiations. YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok. Let's get Instagram going. Good evening, everyone. I'm just inviting Instagram in. Tonight, we're going to talk about negotiations. We're going to continue our conversation from yesterday. And this episode is actually dedicated to Teneh to help her prepare for her first negotiation as a nurse. And for those of you new to cosmetics, what you're going to learn is why the first offer is never the best offer, how to use the L.A.T.T.E negotiation framework, why your lack of cosmetic experience doesn't disqualify you from negotiating, how to articulate your transferable skills, yes, you do have them, and exactly what to say when they object, because they will object. And then for our practice owners, why hiring someone who's new to cosmetics is actually a very smart move. And then the objection prep guide, 4 of the most common objections and how to respond to them. First, let's get everybody in here. And when you get in here, let me know in the comments where you're joining us from. We're talking about negotiations tonight. Mommy, Z, and Son. Let me just get Instagram off here because they slow my screen down. We were here last night talking about negotiations then too. And this is a continuation of our conversation on financial literacy for cosmetic NPs. This conversation is going to be live on my YouTube channel and LinkedIn after this. Hi, Stephanie. And you can catch all these episodes that we started in December on financial literacy for cosmetic NPs under the money playlist. All my videos are under the live tab because I always record live. This way you can ask your questions in real time. You don't have to wait for me to respond to your email or a DM or pay me. This is free. Plus, you also get to guide the direction of this conversation. If you're new here, I'm Dr. Kimberly Madison, a doctorally prepared nurse practitioner. And I come on here all the time talking to you guys, sharing my journey and talking to you about cosmetics, business, and being a nurse practitioner. I'm the founder of the Alliance of Cosmetic Nurse Practitioners, the only professional membership for NPs who specialize in cosmetics and entrepreneurship, who want to build a business on the side or start their own empire, the home of the first alopecia residency in nursing. Come on in here. When you get in here, let me know where you're joining us from. I just went over the things we're going to go over tonight. If you're new to my channel, we always start with either a prayer, devotional, or scripture. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to jump into our topic. The book I'm reading tonight is called Jesus Calling for Medical Professionals by Sarah Young. Since it's January 20th, we're going to read from page 20. This is perfect. It's called Asking for Help. As nurse practitioners, as women, as business owners, this is something that we really struggle with. And if you're new, like Teneh is, to nursing or to cosmetics, a lot of times when we're new, we don't know something because we're afraid people will doubt us and not have a lot of confidence in us. But what I tell people all the time, look, you're new. We expect you to have a lot of questions. When you don't have questions, that's when we get worried. So let me know where you're joining us from. Let me see those hearts when you get here. Okay, so this is about asking for help. Sometimes you need help even to ask for help. As you try to do several things at once, you find yourself moving faster and faster, interrupting one thing to do another. If your phone rings at such a time, your stress level rises even higher. The best way out of this turmoil is to stop everything. Take a few deep breaths and whisper my name. Acknowledge your need for my guidance through moments of the day. I will lovingly lead you along paths of righteousness for my name's sake. When you're preparing to do something challenging, usually take time to enlist my help. But when you're facing everyday tasks, you tend to dive in unassisted, as if you can handle these matters all by yourself. How much better is it to approach everything in humble dependence on me? Whenever you find yourself in diving mode, ask me to help you to stop and seek me, letting me show you the way to go forward. I will guide you along the best paths for your life. The Lord restores my soul. He guides me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. That's Psalm 23, verse 3. God did this so men would seek him and perhaps reach out for him and find him, though he is not far from each one of us. Acts 17, verse 27. May the Lord add a reading to the hearers and doers of his word. When you get here, let me know what city you're joining us from. Like I said, we're going to be talking about negotiation. This episode is dedicated to Teneh. She's a new grad nurse. In fact, she was a guest star on the Melanin Initiative podcast in the fall of 2024. You can go over there and find that episode. At the time, she was deciding whether she wanted to be a physician, an NP, or a PA. And so we held our first panel with me, an MP, Dr. Constance Foreman, who is a physician, and then Dr. Shiloh Reyes, who is a doctorally prepared PA. Since that time, Teneh has chosen nursing, and she just graduated from an accelerated program. She's currently working as a nurse tech while she studies and prepares for her NCLEX. She's already accepted a fee. She did not negotiate that fee, but we're here to help her prepare for her negotiation so that when she is finished with her NCLEX, she can make sure she's getting the best offer. And she's only going to get the best offer if she asks for it. And we're going to tie this to those of you who are new to cosmetics or new to being an NP, which is very common in cosmetics. A lot of you are only going to nursing school to do cosmetics. And it's the same thing. You're willing to take a low ball offer because you want to get your foot in the door because of how hard and competitive it is. Now, if you're a practice owner, this is an area you're struggling with, getting good help. I say if you stay consistent and persistent, your business will grow. When it grows, you're going to need good help. But you're struggling to keep that good help. Okay. And so hopefully this conversation will be helpful for all of us, because remember, negotiation is just a conversation. It's not an argument. So these numbers I made up, I don't know what Teneh agreed to, but these numbers are pretty common when we're talking about new grad nurses. So like I said, she did accept that offer without negotiating. She said yes immediately because she was grateful for the opportunity, and she was more focused on what she doesn't know as opposed to what she is bringing to the table. Like many of you, she might not have wanted to seem greedy. She might have been afraid they were going to rescind the offer. And she thought, you know what, they've already made me an offer. I don't want to lose it by asking for more. Now, let's pretend Teneh later goes onto the unit and she talks to some other nurse techs with the same experience. And guess what? She might find out that many of you have found out, that they negotiated much higher. So let's say she took $18 an hour. She finds out that they're making $20 to $22 an hour. Well, guess what? You think it's not a big deal, it's just $1 or $2. But over the course of a year, that's $4,000 to $800,000 that she left on the table. And rule number 1 is don't leave money on the table. And rule number 2, don't forget rule number 1. Now, why does this matter to you? If you're in cosmetics or dermatology, especially as a nurse practitioner, you might be thinking the exact same thing because of how the job opportunities are written. It's very specific, and you're hearing from everyone that you can't get hired unless you have 2 years of experience. So you might be thinking the same way she did. I'm new to this specialty. I'm burnt out from where I am. I'm desperate to take an opportunity. There's not a lot of opportunities where I live. I need this job. I want this job. I'm willing to take a lower offer. They're going to teach me everything I need to know. And I'm just grateful for the opportunity. I know someone who waited 2-3 years to get their first job, and now I have an opportunity. I want to take it. I don't want to miss out on it. I should just be grateful because they're giving me a chance. I can't negotiate because I don't have experience yet. And that's wrong. Teneh's new to nursing, you're new to cosmetics, but both of you bring transferable skills, clinical expertise, and value that every single employer needs, because every single employer needs help. The question isn't, am I experienced enough to negotiate? The question is, how do I articulate my value and prepare for the objection? Because the objection is always coming. We don't want you to be afraid of it or hope it doesn't come because you're good friends or because you have a good sense of the person. We want to plan for it. So let's talk about this parallel between Teneh and those of you who are new to cosmetics. So Teneh, she's a new grad RN. She doesn't have any RN experience yet, but she's gaining it right now as we speak because she has that nurse tech position. She's coming in with over 10 years of a life experience. You can't discount that. She has a degree already. Nursing it's very common in nursing that people are second degree coming in with a second degree. She also already has a degree. She has a business degree, and she's working as a nurse tech right now. Now, employers might say, you're a new grad, so we're offering you new grad pay. Her job is to articulate why her transferable skills, emotional intelligence, and learning ability make her worth more than that minimum pay. And I promise you, the first offer is the lowest offer. So if you're the cosmetic NP, or you're looking to you're either a nurse practitioner, you're looking to transition to cosmetics, you're experienced, so you're coming with some experience. but not cosmetics or dermatology. Let's say you have 5 or 10 years of clinical experience under your belt, you have patient assessment skills and procedure competency. The employer might say, hey, you're new to cosmetics, so we're going to offer you entry-level pay. We do this for everybody. Your job is to articulate why your transferable skills, clinical judgment, and ability to learn make you worth more than the minimum. It's literally the same thing. Now, the objection is the same. You're new. The answer is the same. I'm new to this, but I bring this. Okay, and let me tell you why aesthetic practice owners actually need you, and it's not just someone who can inject Botox. This is what they need. They need someone who has clinical judgment. Can you assess a patient safely? Can you recognize contraindications? Can you manage complications? And what about patient communication? Can you educate patients, build rapport, handle difficult conversations? They will come. Procedure competency. Can you learn technical skills quickly? Are your hands steady? Do you follow protocols? Professionalism. What about that one, TikTok? Do you show up on time? Do you document correctly? Maintain licensure and certifications? And what about business acumen? Do you understand how the patient makes money? This is very important. How the practice makes money. This is very important when you're going into cosmetics and aesthetics. It's not just your nursing skills. And this is not going to be your first time getting into business or being asked to really participate in the business. Because if you're in healthcare, you've been in business, either as you just don't know you're in business. But that's what we're here to help you get that business acumen so we can have better conversations. Because you either own a business or you work for someone who owns a business. And if you don't speak business, you're leaving money on the table every single day, both as the employee and the employer. So do you have business acumen? Do you understand how the practice makes money? Can you convert those consultation into sales? Your 10,000 followers, can you turn that into $10,000? Otherwise, what's the point? And can you build patient loyalty? If you're a nurse or an NP, the answer is absolutely. For more than 20 years, we've been the most trusted professional, except for that one time where firefighters beat us out. Now, if you're a nurse practitioner and you're watching this and you have 5 to 10 years of clinical experience, you already have clinical judgment, patient communication, and professionalism. You have a little bit of business acumen. You might not feel confident about it. And so you just get a little bit of extra training, particularly when it comes to that business acumen and the specific procedures that are done in cosmetics. Training someone on technical skill is a lot easier than teaching someone clinical judgment, professionalism, and communication. If you agree, let me see some hearts over here, TikTok. You guys did wonderful last night. Okay, we have Jay, Candace, and Denise. Okay, so when your employer says you don't have cosmetic experience, you're going to say, that's correct. I don't have cosmetic experience yet, but I have 7 years of clinical experience as a family MP. I perform procedures, biopsies, joint injections, wound care. I have excellent patient assessment skills. I understand contraindications and how to manage complications. And I'm a fast learner. What I need from you is training on your specific protocols and mentorship on aesthetic technique. What you get from me is a clinically sound, professional, patient-focused provider who won't require training on how to be a good clinician because I'm already one. Now, bonus, if you come in with your own mentor, your own study schedule, your own plan for how you're going to go out there and continue to get continuing education, you share the structure, the schedules, the deliverables of that mentorship relationship, and how they're helping you support the business, I promise your resume, your CV is going to end up at the top of that pile. That's why one of the first books, the absolute first book that I published in the Mahogany Dermatology Nursing bookstore was the mentorship guide. Mentorship is everything. No one can ever teach you everything you need to know, especially in a clinical setting. If there's a patient in the room, it will always be about the patient. Your confidence, your questions will always come last. Sometimes it comes at the end of the day. And guess what? By then, everybody wants to go home, yourself included. And so when you're not relying on that one person to teach you everything you need to know, which is not even realistic, you're going to do so much better. We're going to spend so much more time during the actual clinical setting and training, focusing on only the things that I really can actually teach you in a clinical setting. A lot of the other things you can do at home. Your practice of discipline at home will be reflective of the actual clinical practice and care that you provide in that setting. That's it. right? You can tell who's putting in the work at home when they show up. They know what questions to ask. They know how to, what do you want to call it? Assess the risk, look for complications, point out things that you're overlooking because you're already on automatic pilot. As someone who's been doing this for a long time, and I train a lot of people who are new, that's something that they showed me, right? I'm on automatic pilot. I've already got like a muscle memory. I already have how I'm going to do things. I really don't have an incentive to do something new, because once you get that muscle memory going and you have your own routine, you're fast. That's how you get more productive, like we talked about yesterday with productivity. Someone who has more experience can typically negotiate for more productivity-based pay. But that productivity comes at a cost, because I don't have an incentive to look at new structures, look at new things. And when you're new, you bring in that latest evidence, you bring in those questions that I really don't have an incentive to even ask anymore, because I'm on automatic pilot. So don't overlook that. So now let's talk about the framework. You always need strategy. We talk about the problem, but then we got to talk about the action you can take. So tonight I'm going to teach you about the L.A.T.E negotiation framework. I taught this to the founding members of the Alliance of Cosmetic Nurse Practitioners at the end of the year. It was developed by a woman named Jacqueline Twill. So I want to give her credit because she is a negotiation strategist and founder of the ZeroGap.co. She is a Black woman, an MBA graduate, and a 2-time Amazon best-selling author who's dedicated her career to eliminating the gender wage gap, specifically for Black women in male-dominated industries. She wrote a book called Don't Leave Money on the Table, Negotiation Strategies for Women, and it's the first comprehensive negotiation book written by a Black woman. Through her work, she's helped women secure over $500,000 in collective salary increases and benefits just by teaching them how to negotiate strategically, which is what we're doing tonight. Her L.A.T.E method stands for listen, acknowledge, think, transform, and engage. It's specifically designed to help women like me navigate negotiation conversations where we're often told that we're too aggressive or we're asking for too much. It's a framework that centers respect, strategy, and data. And I use it with every nurse practitioner that I coach. And so I'm going to teach you this today. I want you to know that you're learning from a Black woman who built this. And if you want to dive deeper, and I hope you do, I want you to get her book, Don't Leave Money on the Table. I put the link in my description box. Support her. If you're looking for someone to speak at your event, hire her. Help everyone stop leaving money on the table. Okay, so this is where you bring your notes out, is where you take some notes. If you're ready to take some notes, put latte, or you can even put the little teacup in the comment section. I don't know if Teneh's here. I told her I was going live, but now I can't look at my phone anymore. If you're here, Teneh, let me know in the comments. Remember, we're on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok right now. Okay, so the L.A.T.E, I told you, stands for listen, acknowledge, think, transform, and engage. So let's walk Teneh through this structure so she knows how to prepare for her big conversation. So when the employer says, you're new, so we're offering entry pay, the first thing you want to do is L, listen. Don't interrupt, let them finish. You're a new grad, so we're offering you $28 an hour, which is our standard for new grad rate. You're going to go to A, acknowledge. Validate their concern. I understand. You're offering new grad pay because I don't have RN experience yet. That makes sense. Then you're going to do T, think. This is where you're going to pause. I don't want you to respond immediately. Take 3 to 5 seconds. This shows that you're thoughtful and not reactive. I'm going to repeat that again because I could hear his feet on the floor. So we went to acknowledge. You're going to validate their concern. I understand you're offering new grad pay because I don't have RN experience yet. That makes sense. Then you're going to go to T, which is think. This is where you pause. A really good thing to do whenever you're communicating. Don't respond immediately. Take 3 to 5 seconds, couple breaths, take a sip of water. This shows that you're thoughtful and not reactive. T for transform. You're going to reframe this objection. I'm new to being an RN, but I'm not new to healthcare or learning complex systems. I have a business degree. I worked as a nurse tech on your unit for X amount of weeks or months, and I'm already familiar with your workflows, your patient population, and your team. I also completed my BSN in 12 months. This shows I can learn quickly under pressure. So while I'm technically a new grad, I bring experience that most new grads don't have. E is for engage. Ask for what you want. Based on that, I'd like to discuss a starting salary of 32 an hour instead of 28. Is there flexibility there? Now, before we continue, if you're finding this helpful, and I hope you are, not only do I want you to subscribe, I want you to send this to at least one person who needs to stop leaving money on the table. Hit the notification bell so every time I do batch content and I film a bunch of videos at once, you'll be notified when I go live. Those videos drop every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Central on YouTube and LinkedIn. And we cover dermatology, cosmetics, being a nurse practitioner, and being an entrepreneur. All right, so this is the exact script for negotiating when you're new to cosmetics. Your employer is going to say something like, you don't have cosmetic experience yet, so we're offering you 50 an hour instead of our standard 65 for experienced cosmetic NPs. Now, applying the L.A.T.E framework, this is where you're going to listen. Let them finish their offer. Then you're going to come in and you're going to say, I understand you're adjusting the offer because I don't have cosmetic experience yet. And you think that's fair. This is where you think and you pause 3 to 5 seconds, take a sip of water, straighten up your posture because now you need to be confident. I'm new to cosmetics specifically, but I'm not new to clinical practice or procedures. I have been a family NP for 7 years. I perform joint injections, biopsies, IUDs, insertions, and wound care. I have excellent patient assessment skills. I can recognize contraindications, manage complications, and educate patients on risk and benefits. I'm also a fast learner. In my last role, I was trained on a new EMR system and became the go-to person for troubleshooting within 3 months. What I need from you is training on your aesthetic procedures and mentorship on techniques. What you get from me is clinically sound professional provider who already knows how to manage patient safety. You won't have to teach me how to be a good clinician. I already am one. You just need to teach me your specific aesthetic technique. I want to back up here because the mentorship. A lot of people assume that just because you get hired, even if the person says they're going to give you a certain amount of orientation or mentorship, I'm going to just tell you from real life experience from people I talk to, it's not always the case. There are some people who've been in dermatology and since day one, even with a collaborating physician, they've never gotten help. They've had to teach themselves everything they need to know. 12 months in, some people have still complained that they're still struggling. This is a real thing. This interview is not just for you to get a job. It's for you to interview your employer to make sure you're going to get the support you need. If you're new to being a nurse, especially if you're new to being an NP, the advice is always the same. You really don't want to be the first NP that's being hired because you're going to have to do so much teaching, self-advocacy, and defending yourself. You want to make sure you're going to have proper orientation. That proper orientation is going to vary based on their onboarding. How much education are you going to get? How much support do you get after you're off orientation? And what's the rate at which your patient load is going to increase? That's going to determine what is an appropriate orientation schedule. And then who can you call for help? Is everyone else, if you've worked on a unit, you know you have a whole team of nurses there, but at any given point, they might be taking care of their patient and they just can't help you. So you still need to be able to have resources that you can go to. Is there policies, procedures? Is there an app, some resource you can go to and get questions asked? Because no one's going to ever be able to answer every single one of your questions. I know a lot of the advice is to go somewhere and get mentorship and get training. But sometimes we put too much emphasis on the people doing the orientation and training. We're making a lot of assumptions about their level of ability to teach other people. When it comes to teaching, that's communication. Not everybody's good at communicating. They can say like, oh, it makes sense to me, or I know what it means. I just have a hard time explaining it. You're probably going to have a hard time understanding. It's the same thing when you get report. When someone can tell you clearly what just happened versus someone who's really stumbling over their report and they mention a couple of things that happened, you're probably going to stumble through your shift too. So don't put all your emphasis in that person because a lot of times people can't even tell you the rationale for their choices or their actions. So you really need to come in strong. That's where your professional memberships come in. That's where your networking and mentors, whether they're free or you pay them, that's where building a community because you're going to need support and you need more support than the people you work for. That's just the facts. Okay, so what else? And this is your opportunity to brag. All the little things that your company might ask you to do, this is your chance. Were you a morale booster? Did you do a lot of training? Did you help with retention? Did you help implement new programs? All the things. Did you cover for someone did you cover for the boss while they were on maternity leave? That's how Alicia ended up in management. She covered for our manager while she was away, and she ended up loving it. You need to brag about these little things that you just did because someone asked you or because you thought it was just your job. Because not everyone says yes. People get asked things all the time. Not everyone says yes. You say yes to everything, but everyone doesn't say that. So brag about that. And yeah, you can ask about the mentorship, but you know what I want you to do? I want you to come in with your own mentor, your own study schedule, your own everything. You're relieving, because what happens when you have a new person come in, what you're telling them is, I'm giving you another assignment. That's what the person hears. So when you can lift up some of that weight by saying, I have a mentor, I've done training, I'm going to continue training, I have a study schedule, this is what it is. I have a mentor, this is how often we meet, this is what they're doing for me. This is how they're helping me not only grow my skills, but also grow my confidence, and how they're helping me help grow the business. You're relieving a lot of the weight, because when you're coming into a business or a practice, it's a game that's already in play. You're asking them to pause the game and address you. They're not going to pause the game. So they're figuring out how they can get you in the quickest and still keep the game going and win. Okay? It's literally the same thing. Okay, so instead of 50 an hour, you're going to say, I'd like to propose $58 an hour with a performance review in 6 months. If I'm meeting your expectations and my patient satisfaction scores are high, we revisit compensation then. Does that work? Now, key thing here, you need to have access to this data, including the patient reviews. You can say, oh yeah, I can get access to that. That's all over the internet. I'm telling you, friends, you need to ask, and it needs to be documented. I'm only bringing up things that happen in real life. Okay, now let's flip this and talk to the business owners, the people who are afraid to hire, who've been burned by staff, who are afraid they're going to train their own competition, who are new to hiring, who are new to being in leadership and communication, quite frankly. Let's see. Make sure I didn't. Okay. So if you're new to dermatology, and there are a lot of nurses and NPs starting dermatology practices, a cosmetic practice owner, you might think, why would I pay someone $58 an hour when they don't have aesthetic experience yet? I can hire someone experienced with 65 an hour. Now, here's why hiring someone who's new but clinically experienced can actually be smarter. And we see this all over the group chat, because you get to train them your way. They don't come in with bad habits from another practice. They learn your protocols, and they're not questioning everything you're teaching them. We all know that, especially in nursing. Oh man, the longer someone practices, the harder it is to teach them something new. That's if I'm right, tell me I'm right. Give me some hearts in the comments. Okay, they learn your protocols, your product preferences, your patient communication style. You're building a provider who does things the way you want them done. Even it's been, I don't know how long what is this? I forgot how many years ago I did orientation, but my very first preceptor, I'm really just a reflection of her. Even though I've had over 20, 30 preceptors now, I'm still a huge, everything she taught me, just like dating, right? You never forget your first. I still have everything she really taught me, and I've just been building upon that. And so when you're someone's first preceptor, you're orienting someone, you're really building a foundation that either other people can build on or that they have to dismantle. Only agree if you're really in it for those reasons. Okay, why you want to hire someone who's not experienced in cosmetics but might have clinical experience? Because they're hungry to learn. Someone new to aesthetics is going to be motivated. They're not burned out. They're not jaded. They're excited. Well, they might be burned out, depending on where they're coming from. But that energy translates into patient care. They bring fresh clinical perspective. An experienced family nurse practitioner or urgent NP brings diagnostic skills and medical knowledge that someone who's only done cosmetics might not have. They can recognize when a patient's not a good candidate. They can manage medical complications. They can understand pharmacology, anatomy, and patho at a much deeper level. And on the business side, they might be able to share some things with you that they've done in all the other places that they worked. We know every nurse has worked in multiple locations that worked really well there, whether it's running the business, communications, client acquisition, you name it. They're often more affordable than that experienced cosmetic NP. Yes, you're paying them more than the brand new NP, but you're paying them less than someone with 5 years of cosmetic experience. If you invest in their training, they're likely to stay longer because they're loyal to the person who gave them a chance. But you have to keep investing and supporting them to get to that point. And it might not need to be you specifically. You might need to have someone else who can manage that relationship, especially if you've been burnt in the past. Now, you can negotiate a training period with a lower pay. Offer them 55 an hour for the first 6 months with a raise to 62 an hour after they complete all the training and meet performance benchmarks, which need to be documented, clearly explained between both parties and signed, and then you need to revisit it. This protects you and it rewards them. Everyone wants to show up and feel like their time is worth something. Okay, so if you're Teneh and you're negotiating your first job or you're negotiating your first cosmetic NP job, then you need to prepare for objections. They're always coming. And here are the most common ones and how you can respond. If you are afraid of objections, put a thumbs up in the comments. If you're ready to take it on and stop leaving money on the table, put some money signs in the comments. Okay, so the first objection, you're new, so this is our standard rate. You're going to say, I understand that's your standard rate for someone without experience in this specialty. However, I bring X amount of years, whatever it is, of clinical experience or life experience, whatever your experience is, lean on that. Focus on what you do have, because whatever you focus on, that's what I'm going to focus on. Specific transferable skills. What are those transferable skills that you're bringing to the table? And what's unique about it? I'd like to discuss a starting rate. Have your number in mind. Have your range. Always start with your highest number because they're starting with their lowest number. And the goal is that you guys can meet somewhere in the middle. And then ask for a performance review. 3 months from now, 6 months from now, is there any flexibility there? Objection number 2, we can't go higher because our budget is fixed. Your response, I understand the salary range is fixed. Are there any other areas where you might have flexibility? For example, can we discuss a sign-on bonus, performance-based bonus structure, continuing education budget, admin time, research opportunities, invitations to networking events, corporate opportunities, or an accelerated raise timeline after I complete training? Objection number 3, other candidates have more experience than you. And, maybe even some precepting, being able to charge them and not pay for it, maybe having rights to all your social media content, lots of ways things you can negotiate that might be low value to them, but high value to you, or even low cost for them, but high value to you. Okay, so their objection. Other candidates have more experience than you do. That may be true, but experience is one specialty. Doesn't always translate to excellence in another. What I bring is strong clinical judgment, professionalism, and the ability to learn quickly. I'm also coming in with fresh ideas and no bad habits from other practices. You'll train me your way from day one, which means I'll be a better fit for your culture and protocols long term. Now, this is very clinical, but even if you come in and you say, you know what, I've taken some mindset classes, I've taken some financial literacy courses, I've taken leadership, I've been studying about mastering communication or how to manifest vision, hey, share all of the things you've invested in, how it not only benefits you as a clinician, as a well-rounded person, but as someone on this team. Hey, I've done some research on the industry. I see this is where it's going. I see this is where it's at. These are some ideas that I've had. These are some ideas that are working in other industries that are very similar and parallel. And this is the outcomes that they've got. This is how they measure those outcomes. And these are the people they put in place to push those and push those initiatives forward. And here's how I think it can be implemented here in the clinical setting, specifically in this city at this time for this quarter. I'm telling you, you're going to impress them. But then you got to follow up with that. You got to continue to learn. And all you really have to do is know 10% more than the person you're teaching. The person you're teaching could be an employer. And in cosmetics, the person who's hiring you, they might have been where you were 2 years ago. And so they're still new. They're still new in this capacity, even though they might not be as new as you coming in fresh at the gate. So you can still have a lot to offer here. Don't sell yourself short. Okay, so okay, objection number 4. If we pay you more, you have to pay everyone else more. How are you going to respond to that? I appreciate your concern. However, compensation should be based on the value that every provider brings, not just tenure or title. We've all witnessed that. I'm not asking you to change your entire pay structure. I'm asking you to recognize my specific transferable skills and adjust my offer accordingly. This is a conversation about my individual value, not a precedent for everyone else. So, what are the next steps for Teneh? What are your next steps? So Teneh, what Teneh is doing right now is preparing for her NCLEX, number 1, and for her first RN negotiation, which is going to set the bar for the rest of her career. Because look, if you can't negotiate 20 to 30 bucks, you think you're going to be able to negotiate when it's $200,000 to $300,000? Where are you going to get that confidence? Where are you going to get that experience from? Do it now. And what you should do if you're new to cosmetics, number 1, research the market rates. Know what new RNs are making in your city. Know what aesthetic MPs make in your zip code. Use Glassdoor, Salary.com, Medscape. Your professional network is going to be key. If you don't have one, go find one. Go to LinkedIn, go to conference, join your local and national professional organizations. That's what we're there for. Don't just give money to a membership and don't do anything with it. This is an expensive career. Your license, your certifications, your DEA, your malpractice, all these memberships. Don't waste money if you're not going to use it. They need your help. Lend your help and get the mentorship in return. That's what they're there for. They're there to protect all of us and to support all of us, because once you leave school, you're on your own and you can't do this thing by yourself. That whole suffering in silence and working in silos, it really has to stop. It's killing us. Okay? Now, number 1, you're going to do your market research. Number 2, identify your transferable skills. Make a list of everything you bring that's valuable, even if it's not cosmetic specific. That's your clinical judgment, procedure experience, patient communication, professionalism, business acumen. That's why I wrote From Bedside to Dermatology. Nobody really understands a nursing education. Sometimes some nurses don't understand nursing education, especially if you only got into this to do cosmetics. You probably had a very narrow view of nursing to begin with. So I wrote that book because all these things that we're talking about, all these skills that are very desirable, you can be getting those right now, whatever setting you're in. In this book, I literally talk about every single setting: long-term care, the hospital, acute care, outpatient, home health, because the skin is everywhere. So you can be getting these skills everywhere, especially these things about communication. Take on a leadership opportunity, implement a new practice, own that, communicate it, gather data, disseminate it. You all say you hate research, but when you're able to identify a problem, find an evidence-based solution, implement it, take in the data and now analyze it, tell everybody what it means, that's dissemination, and then you show everyone how to implement it and evaluate whether that's working. That's literally research. We do that all the time. Sometimes when you get into research as a student, you have a negative connotation about it because someone made you study pressure ulcers, someone made you study falls, and you just weren't that interested in it. But in nursing, there's always something you can identify that you absolutely love. A nurse I was talking to, she wasn't familiar with palliative care. So I talked to her about it, and she loved the concept. She's like, because I see so many patients go to hospice and I just hate that. And now she knows that she can intervene and offer something that's going to bring comfort and quality care to her patients. It doesn't mean it's something that she's going to love forever, but she's now equipped. Now she has more information. And so I wrote that book because you can be gaining skills right now where you are. You don't need to wait for another degree, a certification. That person will call you back for an interview to get the perfect job at the perfect city at the perfect time. You don't need to wait for that. Wherever you're working right now as a nurse, you can gain all these skills right now, because everywhere you work, everybody needs help. Literally, everybody needs help. Just step up and raise your hand and say, what do you need help with? Let them talk. When you give people enough time to talk, they're going to tell you their problems. Pick one that you can obsess about or be a little bit interested in for a long time, and just find a way to solve it. That's it. And learn how to communicate. how you're solving it. Communication is everything. You can, it comes down to communication and confidence. Your confidence is going to come through in your communication. Okay, so you've done the market research, you've identified your transferable skills, or you will. You can even go to ChatGPT or your favorite AI tool, whatever that is, and say, hey, look, help me identify some transferable skills. This is what I've done. This is what I want to do. This is what I like. And it'll help you come up with a list. You don't have to overthink it. Don't make it, make your life easier. Number 3, you're going to write out the L.A.T.E script, your script. Practice what you're going to say when they object. Rehearse with a friend, a mentor, do it in the mirror, record yourself, have fun with it. Decide your walkaway number. Every negotiation has to have a walkaway point. Otherwise, why even come to the table? What's your minimum that you're going to accept? If they won't meet that, walk away. Know this number or whatever other things you've identified are desirable before you negotiate, not later and not in the middle of it. Build your confidence. Remind yourself, I'm not being greedy. I'm being strategic. I'm advocating for myself, just like I advocate for my patients and my children and my family. I'm worth what I'm asking for because I'm already enough. Don't let that job dictate your value or all the hats that you wear. So, okay, that's a big thing. Now, what I want you to remember is never accept the first offer. Put a 1 in the comments if you have taken away the number 1 message for tonight. You can never accept the first offer. If you agree and you're never going to do that with me, put a 1 in the chat. I'm never going to accept the first offer ever again. Okay, so whether you're a new grad like Teneh or you're an experienced NP who's coming into cosmetics for the first time, you have value. Your job is to articulate that value and prepare for the objection that you're new. Use the L.A.T.E framework. Listen to their concern. Acknowledge it. Think before responding. Transform that objection into an opportunity. That's exactly what it is. And engage by asking for what you want. You have to know what you want. Now, to my business owners, hiring someone new to cosmetics, it's not a risk if they're clinically excellent. Train them your way, invest in their development, reward their growth. You'll build loyalty and excellence. And in fact, I've even talked about on my YouTube channel multiple ways when it comes to hiring good talent, how you can keep that good talent. Don't put it all on your own shoulders. Build a system, an onboarding system, an in-house mentorship system. Pay for them to go to some conference or some event that's going to train them all the other things that they need to know. Don't put all that on your own shoulders. Don't take on all that responsibility. You're doing enough just by hiring them, teaching them some clinical skills and running the business, maintaining a staff that can get the job done. Don't take on also all the other things that they need. Create an ecosystem where they can access those people or those resources or be willing to invest so they can go out and get them. Don't take all it on either. You will also get burnt out from that, in addition to being a solo injector or a solo business owner. Remember, you need them, they need you. We all need each other. Employees need employers who see their potential, who's going to take good care of them, and employers need employees who bring value. They're going to be the ones carrying out your vision. So you need to be a master communicator on what that vision is. Take good care of those people, and stop saying yes to everything, because you'll burn out, and that energy transfers to your team. If you want the full L.A.T.E negotiation method, buy the book. The link is in the description box from Miss Twill. She even has a YouTube channel. You can go check her out if you want and tell her I sent you. Teneh, you chose nursing. You crushed your accelerated program. You're about to pass your NCLEX. And when you get that first RN offer, you're going to negotiate like the founder that you want to be. This episode is dedicated to you and all the 2025 graduates. To everyone else, I want you to subscribe. And look, if you're looking for mentorship in business, right? We're all in business. Either you own your own business, you want to own your own business, or you work for someone who owns a business. And the more we both talk business, the better experience we all have. If you're looking to get that kind of mentorship, then I invite you to apply the Mahogany Dermatology Nursing Internship for 26. That application is live, but it closes this Saturday on January 25th, 2026 at 11:59 Central. The link is in the description box. You can find it on the Mahogany Dermatology blog. It's an innovative model, right? The emphasis is on business. It's on making money. leveraging your intellectual property, innovative ways to increase your visibility, credibility, and to become a key authority in dermatology. If you have questions about it because you're not familiar with it and you want to know what the investment is in terms of your time, you can email me. We can set up a video call, but you have to make that request before the application closes. Otherwise, it shows that you're not really you're not timely and you don't read the details. And that would definitely count you out of the running. But I'm happy to answer any questions. In fact, the last week or two, I posted a couple articles to explain the model, explain my philosophies when it comes to business, the gaps that I'm filling when it comes specifically to dermatology nursing education, and why I want you a part of that journey. You can you can go over there and look at Jade's final reflection, see what she did with her life over the last 12 months and what she was able to do by just saying yes to herself and by being open to something new and different. And she's preparing to launch Go Skin Check, a nurse-led business. No certification, no additional degree. She just said yes, and she just did it. And today we announced the fact that our article was accepted in the Journal of Clinical and Aesthetic Dermatology's NPPA Perspectives, where I sit on the editorial advisory board. Our article is on using AI-assisted access to increase dermatology care in provider shortage areas. I am so proud of Jade. She didn't even know that nurses could get published. If you didn't know that either, that stops now. Absolutely, you can do these things. And so shout out to her. Thank you all for your support. It will be published in the May to June publication coming out later this spring. And thank you to the journal. They've been so kind ever since we first developed a relationship. And I look forward to continue to work together in the future. If you have any questions, you can always contact me on the Mahogany Dermatology blog. I thank you all for being here. Like I said, we'll be here all week talking about money. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you next time. YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook,